Tumbler Ridge overwhelmed with grief this Thursday night.
They're all just great little kids, And why?
What we've learned about those who were killed and the heroes who sprang into action to help. Plus, what court documents and social media posts reveal about the suspect's past. Canadian billionaire Frank Stronach on trial for sexual assault. What one woman testified happened decades ago. A helmet of memory.
I want to be part of Olympic Games.
Why the Olympic Committee banned this athlete from the competition. Plus, tight races, how Team Canada fared at the rink and on the hill.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. This has been a day of mourning in the province of British Columbia as the people of Tumbler Ridge try to absorb the unimaginable loss in their small town. 8 people, including 6 children, were shot and killed on Tuesday. Their families have all been informed and the RCMP have now released their names. Kylie Smith was 12 years old. So were Abel Mwansa Jr., Takaria Lampert, and Zoe Benoit. Ezekiel Schofield was 13. All of them died in their school, as did 39-year-old Shanda Avugana Durand, an educational assistant. The suspect's mother, 39-year-old Jennifer Jacobs, and stepbrother, 11-year-old Emmett Jacobs, were killed in their home. 2 more victims are in hospital in Vancouver, 12-year-old Maya Gabala, who is in serious condition, and 19-year-old Paige Hoekstra. The suspect who took their own life was an 18-year-old who was known to police, had a history of mental health problems, and had access to guns. We will get into all of that in a moment, but we begin in Tumbler Ridge, where the focus is on the victims and where Heather Yourex-West is tonight. Heather.
Donna, the town square here in Tumbler Ridge has become a place where the victims of this week's tragic events are being mourned and remembered, as we learn more about who they were. In the place where hundreds from this stunned community gathered by candlelight Wednesday night, now stands a memorial of flowers and plush animal toys. A place to honor 8 lives lost.
The past 2 mornings when I woke up, I just was wondering, was it real? Did I dream it? But I didn't. But I can hold my child. My neighbor can't hold her child.
Among those pausing to lay flowers on Thursday, BC Premier David Eby, as well as Glenn Miller, a local Canadian Junior Rangers leader who knew several of the youngest victims well.
I feel really close to them, have 2 of them in my group and 1 of them in my church, I'll say, and they're all just great little kids, and why?
As the magnitude of this week's losses sets in, those working to help others have called in additional help. This local church bringing in pastors and grief counselors to help its congregation.
Our friends were one of the few parents left toward evening who were still waiting, and we waited with them till about 11 o'clock that night to finally get confirmation that their son had passed away.
Mixed with the immense feelings of sadness, the mayor of Tumbler Ridge says he's been filled with a sense of pride as stories emerge about the heroism shown inside the school.
Some of the teachers, what they did, and just over and above what a teacher, you could even think a teacher should do, but even students doing CPR. And those stories will come out, I think, eventually, and it's just you just don't even realize that the family that lives here, what they all had to deal with and what they all did to step up.
The media presence in this town of just over 2,000 people has been pretty overwhelming. The mayor asking for space to allow families to grieve. Though some residents tell me that they've drawn a lot of comfort from all of the messages coming from across Canada, people sending their support and love. Donna?
Heather Yourex-West in Tumbler Ridge. Thank you. Canada's Prime Minister says at the invitation of the mayor, he and all the federal party leaders will go to Tumbler Ridge tomorrow to attend a vigil for the victims. There is still so much we don't know about the investigation into the shooting. Police have said the shooter, Jesse Van Rootselaar, was known to them. They'd been called to the family home multiple times and had seized weapons. There were obvious red flags before the mass shooting. Jillian Piper is looking into that part of the story.
Photos from a now-removed Reddit account, JesseBoy347, appear to show the Tumbler Ridge shooting suspect Jesse Van Rootselaar talking about an affinity for firearms. I'm a 15-year-old trans person transitioning from male to female. I own 7 firearms. It's cool. It is still unknown where the long gun and modified handgun used in the mass shooting came from. Police say the suspect's license expired in 2024 and no guns were registered in her name, but the suspect's home did have a history with firearms.
Police have attended that residence in the past, approximately a couple of years ago, where firearms were seized under the criminal code. I can say that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for those firearms to be returned, and they were.
Social media photos appear to show the home's gun safe.
It is very, very rare to see those firearms returned.
This criminal defense lawyer has been practicing for about 15 years with a focus on weapons charges. He says while most Canadian gun owners follow all the rules, it can be difficult for police to identify non-compliance.
Somebody's got a firearm in their house and they're not storing it properly. I mean, barring some kind of a complaint, it's likely that nobody would really know.
RCMP confirmed there were no criminal charges related to the seizures at the suspect's home, but would not say when exactly those firearms were returned, something the Premier was asked about late Wednesday.
Does it concern you that guns were taken away from this household only to be returned?
I have a lot of questions. I know the people of Tumbler Ridge have a lot of questions.
The RCMP say the suspect was apprehended on multiple occasions over the past several years due to mental health, although local health authorities confirm Van Rootselaar was not in patient care at the time of the incident.
It's hard to predict how somebody who's been diagnosed will behave, so judges and police are very cautious.
BC's Supreme Court documents from 2015 describe the suspect's younger years as an almost nomadic lifestyle, with multiple moves between provinces and no relationship with her father for many years. Donna?
Okay, Jillian Piper in Ottawa, thank you. If you or someone you know needs help, you can call or text 988 to reach Canada's Suicide Crisis Helpline. Help is available in English and French 24 hours a day, every day. In Toronto, the sexual assault trial for Canadian billionaire Frank Stronach got underway today. This is the first of 2 court cases he's facing. The 18 charges against Stronach have been split into 2 trials, and the allegations are from 13 complainants that date back nearly 50 years. Jeff Semple reports on the testimony from the first witness who detailed what she says happened to her. And a warning, some of the details are disturbing.
Mrs. Stronach, how are you?
One of Canada's wealthiest men arrived in court. 93-year-old Frank Stronach, the founder of auto parts giant Magna International, is facing sexual assault allegations from 13 women whom we can't identify. Legal experts say there's strength in numbers.
It creates a certain momentum for the prosecution, and it lends credibility to each complainant's individual story.
The cases span half a century. The first woman to testify said Stronach raped her back in 1981. But she struggled to recall many details.
Biggest challenges will be for the Crown Attorney dealing with memory loss, memory interference.
Like most of the alleged victims in the Toronto trial, the woman worked for Stronach at this racetrack, caring for his horses. For her birthday, she testified she and her colleagues went to a nightclub that Stronach owned. She said he showed up unannounced. Almost immediately upon sitting down, Mr. Stronach came around that wall kind of like surprise with a bottle of champagne, she said.
The woman testified that she never drank alcohol, but couldn't recall if she drank that night. She said she started feeling numb, discombobulated, and somehow ended up on the dance floor with Stronach.
He's got an arm wrapped around me. He's got his other arm in my crotch, she said, and he's pushing his fingers inside of me. I recall it being painful. I recall pushing back. I recall not understanding what was going on. She said that Stronach pulled her to a booth. The next thing she said she remembers is waking up in a strange bed with Stronach on top of her having intercourse. I realize I am being raped in that moment, she said. I hadn't consented to any of this. She didn't report it to police until 3 decades later in 2015 because, she said, who's going to believe me? Someone who shovels manure against him. At the time, it always seemed to be the victim's fault.
Stronach has pleaded not guilty and previously said he believes the women are motivated by money, though none of the 13 complainants are suing Stronach for financial compensation. Donna?
All right, Jeff Semple in Toronto, thank you. The Trump administration says it intends to end its 10-week-long immigration crackdown in Minneapolis, where federal agents shot and killed 2 American citizens. The leaders of ICE and U.S. Border Patrol testified before Congress today about those deaths. Jackson Prosco reports on how that went.
Get off the street, get off the street. After weeks of intensive immigration raids, clashes with protesters, and the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the Trump administration is suddenly backing down in Minneapolis.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
This surge of untrained, aggressive federal agents are going to leave Minnesota.
As agents prepare to depart, the questions about their conduct remain.
And 2 people are dead because you encourage them to put themselves into harm's way.
In Washington, a day of heated hearings saw lawmakers square off with local officials. Republicans blamed the state for inciting protests.
A tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it.
While Minnesota's Attorney General detailed how the federal government has blocked the state from investigating both officer-involved shootings.
But in these 2 cases, they're stonewalling you?
That's a yes. That's a yes.
Under questioning, the heads of ICE and Border Patrol contradicted statements from top Trump administration officials, who initially rushed to claim both victims were terrorists.
Were Renee Good and Alex Preddy domestic terrorists?
Ma'am, while that investigation's ongoing, to my knowledge, no.
There was no apology, only a promise to keep investigating, along with a vow that immigration enforcement will continue in other cities. That partisan divide over immigration may lead to yet another partial shutdown of the U.S. government. Democrats want major concessions, including the unmasking of ICE agents in the field. Without that, they won't extend funding for the Department of Homeland Security past Friday. Donna?
All right, Jackson Prosco in Washington, thank you. Fresh triumphs for Team Canada. Coming up, a place on the podium came down to hundredths of a second at the Olympics. It has been a busy and successful day for Canadian athletes at the Winter Olympics. The men's and women's hockey teams both won their games, and it was Canada's best day yet for medals. But it was down to the wire. Mike Armstrong is in Italy covering the games.
Well, Donna, there were some painfully close calls. We'll start with Mikaël Kingsbury, the man they call the King of the Moguls. He put up a nearly flawless run, and it almost put him at the top of the podium.
Kingsbury was the second to last skier. The 33-year-old 3-time Olympic medalist has 100 World Cup Tour victories. His run in the final gave him a score of 83.71. The only skier left was an Australian without a single win on the World Cup Tour. Well, on this day, he got the exact same score as Kingsbury, but the tiebreaker went to the Australian for his marks on turns. There was some understandable frustration from Kingsbury at first, but there were smiles on the podium.
I knew it was going to be tight, but I thought I had it personally, but I made a tiny mistake in the middle section. I think that's what cost me, but overall I'm very proud of myself.
Now, Éliot Grondin at the last Olympics missed gold by 2/100ths of a second. He spent most of today's race battling for first, took the lead on the final turn, but was passed on the straightaway. Grondin had to settle for silver again, this time by 3/100ths of a second.
It's another silver medal, so you can't really be too upset. Obviously we want a gold, but silver will do for now.
In short track, Canada's William Danjanu came close to a medal, finishing 4th in the 1,000 meters. He was the favorite going in. Now, Canada had 2 skaters in the final of the women's 500 meters. Courtney Sarault came back from 4th on the last turn to win the bronze. Teammate Kim Boutin finished 5th. Both of Canada's hockey teams were on the ice today, and both had 5-0 shutout wins. It was a good bounce back for the women after their painful loss to the U.S. on Tuesday, and it was a good start for the men as they kicked off their tournament. Donna?
Good stuff. Mike Armstrong in Milan, Italy. Thank you. Farmers for free trade ahead while a U.S. agricultural group wants Trump to renegotiate a deal with Canada and Mexico. The FBI has now raised the reward for information leading to the location of Nancy Guthrie to $100,000. It's received more than 13,000 tips since releasing doorbell camera footage recovered from Guthrie's Arizona home. The FBI has analyzed that video and now describes the man as 5'9" to 5'10" of average build. A black glove that looks similar to the one he was wearing was found near Guthrie's home, and it's being tested for DNA. The 84-year-old has been missing since February 1st. Her daughter, Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, posted new images today saying, "Our lovely mom, we will never give up on her. Thank you for your prayers and hope." What's going to happen to the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement is anyone's guess. It is up for renegotiation. The U.S. president could rip up the deal entirely. Doing so would be a severe blow to economies on both sides of the Canada-U.S. border. As Sharia Isri reports, that has prompted a major campaign by America's agricultural industry, which wants the agreement to be preserved.
The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement is the world's most valuable trade agreement.
Value the American agriculture industry clearly sees, even if the U.S. president claims he does not.
I don't even think about USMCA.
U.S. farmers and ranchers are urging the Trump administration to start thinking about it.
We know the president definitely has a lot of support in rural America, and we're encouraged that he would be open to listening to our perspective.
Around 40 organizations have launched the Agricultural Coalition for the USMCA, the American acronym for CUSMA, highlighting its enormous benefits in ads like this one.
The agreement lowers grocery prices for American families, gives farmers certainty, strengthens supply chains.
Mexico is the #1 customer for U.S. corn, and Canada is the #1 customer for U.S. ethanol.
Despite that dependence, Trump regularly disses the deal and accuses Canada of ripping off the U.S.
They've been treating our farmers very badly.
The push by the powerful agriculture lobby comes in the face of growing uncertainty over CUSMA, which is up for renewal in July.
The joint resolution is passed.
In a rare bipartisan rebuke, the House voted Wednesday to rescind U.S. tariffs against Canada.
It underlines what we've always known, which is that free trade between Canada and the United States has been good for the United States, not just Canada.
It's a largely symbolic move that won't actually undo the tariffs.
And maintains our global competitiveness.
But it's another sign of growing frustration as the trade war creates chaos for Canadians and Americans. Sharia Isri, Global News, Montreal.
2 Mexican-flagged ships carrying aid have docked in Havana, Cuba, as that country deals with a growing humanitarian and financial crisis. The ships are carrying nearly 800 tons of food, powdered milk, and hygiene supplies. Mexico's president sent the supplies after the U.S. president threatened to impose sanctions on any country that delivers oil to the island nation. Donald Trump claims Cuba poses an extraordinary threat to U.S. national security. Taking a stand next, the Ukrainian athlete giving up his Olympic dreams in support of his country's war victims. These Buddhist monks have captivated people around the world during their 3.5-month-long walk for peace. It finished in Washington, D.C. today after starting in Dayton, Texas. They walked about 3,700 kilometers, often in bare feet, and at times braving frigid temperatures and even a powerful snowstorm. 2 of the monks survived a car crash, which caused one of them to have his leg amputated. The monks' goal is to raise awareness of peace, loving kindness, and compassion across America and the world. It takes nerves of steel and extraordinary guts to be a skeleton racer. For one Ukrainian athlete, his courage has cost him a spot in the Olympics. Vladyslav Heraskevych has been disqualified from the Games for continuing to wear a helmet featuring the images of athletes killed during Russia's war in Ukraine. As Vincent McAviney reports, he says being banned from competing is the price of dignity.
Competing for his fallen countrymen, 26-year-old Ukrainian Vladyslav Heraskevych came to Cortina not just for Olympic glory, but also to remind the world of Russia's brutality. The skeleton racer's helmet of remembrance features portraits of 24 Ukrainian athletes killed since Russia's full-scale invasion. But after wearing it for his practice runs, the International Olympic Committee said it violates the Olympic Charter, specifically a rule against demonstration or political, religious or racial propaganda.
I just want to memorize my fellow athletes. I want to be part of Olympic Games and to compete and to try to get my chance to win a medal.
The president of the IOC traveled to the track to plead with the Ukrainian to compromise, saying he could display the helmet before and after his race and wear a black armband while competing.
I really wanted to see him race today. It's been an emotional morning. Yeah. I was not speaking to him in that room as a president. I'm speaking to him as an athlete. We have these rules in place to try and be fair and also to try and allow for us to do both things, right? To allow for athletes to express themselves, but also to allow for athletes to be safe.
Spectators were supportive.
Might be a bit of a loophole, but I think that was very respectful for him to do that for his fellow countrymen.
If so many people in your country are dying, then it's more important than one Olympic medal.
Yeah, I think it's very brave of him.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky praised Vladislav's courage, which he says is worth more than any medal. He criticized the IOC, saying it's betraying the Olympic principles of fairness and the pursuit of peace. Vladislav's team say they'll now appeal the decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
That is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Donna Friesen. Today has been declared a day of mourning in British Columbia to honor the victims of the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge. The province's premier was among those laying flowers at the memorial in the town this morning.
I have a hard time getting rid of the image of a hockey card. That was part of that memorial.
In Tumbler Ridge, that memorial keeps growing as the small community keeps grieving. Thanks for watching.